Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Karen Chat, good to see you in chat. Who else did we see? Caretaker's hanging out with us tonight. How's everybody doing? Hope you're all doing great. Sorry for my silence. Aside from popping in other people's streams, sorry for my silence and not streaming. I was on a work trip last week, so I missed Thursday and Sunday, and I'm going to miss this coming Sunday because I have to fly out tomorrow and do a weekend event for a change. This one's going to be out on the Berkeley campus, which I've never been to, so it should be fun to kind of see where all the computer science greats have sort of walked in the past. But it should be a good time, so welcome in. In the meantime, I worked on a Connect 4 game and thought we could stress test that for a little bit. I do need to make it a shorter stream because I got to pack, because I got to take care of some work first thing in the morning, and then I need to get to the airport at like 11. So, Dungspren, thanks for hanging out with us as well. I did get your resume. If we've got time tonight, I'll do a quick resume review tonight, if that's okay. So let me know if you're going to hang out on the stream for a little while, and we can get that resume review done for you maybe on tonight's stream, if you're going to be around. If not, let me know, and I'll hang on to it, and we'll do it on the next stream when I get back, so which would be next Thursday. So hope everybody's doing good. I think I saw a dad joke come through earlier. What was our dad joke? I feel bad for the graffiti artist who watched city workers cover over their fresh painted work. It must have been very demuralizing. Good times, good times. But yeah, Caretaker, good to see you as well. Yeah, cool. So if you're familiar with the Connect 4 game, it's basically, it's kind of a grid of like 5 rows with 7 columns, and there's 2 colors, and we basically pick like one column or the other, or sorry, one of 7 columns to drop one of 2 colored sort of tokens in there. And the idea is to get a link of 4 of them, either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, while blocking the other player. Here's the catch. I made this one AI powered, so you'll be playing the AI. And so it'll still be a cooperative game. The idea is that it's still like everybody in chat is going to pick which column to drop into, and you'll have 30 seconds to pick a column 1 through 7, basically. So you have to join the game, and then you just enter a number for which column you want to put it in, and that'll put like a little counter above the columns. And then whichever column has the most votes will drop a token in that column. You can change your vote until the timer runs out. But if there's a tie, then there's going to be kind of a sudden death. Like, okay, these 2 columns were kind of picked by everybody. You've got like 15 seconds to make a choice. Like, which one of these 2 do you want to drop it in? And then it'll drop. If there's only one choice, it'll drop in just that one column. But depending on the complexity level, we have easy, medium, and extreme, like we do with all of our games. Will depend on how well the AI is instructed to play against us. So it'll be us versus the AI, basically. Dungsprend is going to hang out. Cool. So let's try a quick game of Connect 4. Let's see how that goes. And then we'll do a resume review, and then we'll close it off with another round of Connect 4. And as always, I'm mostly doing this to get your feedback and to hear what do you think about the game? How can it be improved? Do you like the aesthetics of it? Does it show up okay on the screen? Is it easy enough to sort of see and understand what's going on, either with the prompts that are on the screen or what's being displayed in chat, that sort of thing. So looking for lots of feedback. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I have fun making these games, and I want to make them as fun as possible for other streamers. So as much feedback as you want to give me, I'm happy to take it. So with that in mind, let's run a game of Connect 4. We'll do the first one in easy mode. So this should, actually I'll need to switch over to this screen. Okay, so this should, so here we go. So you've got 60 seconds basically to do ! join. And then this will be our little board that we're going to play on. And then during a round, you'll basically, hey, Brandon Bottles, good to see you, bud. Basically, you're going to enter a number from 1 to 7, and that's going to be the column that we're going to drop our little token into. So if anybody else wants to play, so far it's just me and Brian. And so we will begin to see, as people put a number in chat, we're going to see like how many votes there are on a particular column. And again, if there's a tie, we'll have like a second quick runoff of like which column do we really want to drop that token into. Everybody that's playing can put it in there. And then there's points to be won, as always. Yeah, you got to wait for the game to start, Brian. So we got a couple more seconds, and it looks like there's 3 of us that are going to play. All right, so, okay, so here we go. So now you basically have 30 seconds, type a number. So somebody put in 1 for 5, I'll put 1 in for 4, for example. And now we can see that it's a little hard to see the vote count. And so we can see that there's a vote of, or a count of 2 for column 4, and there's a vote of 1 for column 5. You can change your vote at any time. So I can type a 5 until that timer runs out, and now it's going to drop in 5 because that had the most votes. So there's our token. Now it's the AI's turn, and the AI picked. So now we get to try to, sort of play our wits versus AI. Now in easy mode, it barely knows how to play Connect 4. So we're probably going to win this one, no problem. There's a lot of different sort of strategies that we can employ. But as we move up the complexity level, the AI is going to get better and better at playing Connect 4 to where it's going to actively block our moves. It's going to actively try to outsmart us, all kinds of fun stuff there. Okay. Oh, see, it blocked us. So we can try for column 3. It may be smart enough to drop in column 2 afterward, though. Actually, let's do column 2. I'm wondering if it's going to be smart enough. If we all go to in column 2, I wonder if it's going to be smart enough to put it in column 3 to try to block us or not. Wait, why did it drop 2 tokens? What the heck? Okay, well, clearly there's a bug in the game. I'm not sure why we got a double turn. Yeah. Well, both of us got a double turn, which is weird. So let's hit column 3, and we're guaranteed a win on this one. All right. Okay, so for some reason it's giving us, yeah, get wrecked bot. So why did the AI take a turn when the game should be over? Good to see you, Brian. Thanks for the lurk. Interesting. I guess we can try to keep playing. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not sure why we're getting double turns. So there's definitely a bug in the game where we're ending up with a double turn. I did a fair bit of testing on this, playing, on Twitch and, with multiple accounts. And this is the first time I've seen this double turn thing going on. So that time the AI only took 1 turn. I'm wondering if we do column 5, if it'll stack up 2 of them in column 5. I think the state of what we have going on is maybe broken. To where the game and the display are somehow out of sync. And it's not sure like which tokens are in which spot, because we should have won. Interesting. So let's try column 2. Oh, in this. Okay, for whatever reason, I thought we won. So yay, high five. All right, we won. Let's try a quick normal game. Now this one, the AI is going to be a little smarter. So again, we'll have to join the game again. The AI will be a little smarter. It's going to actively try to block us a lot more, as well as employ strategy to try to win. Maybe the state checking is at the end of the double turn. I don't understand why it took a double turn though, because the game logic only compiles and chooses a single position to play. But for whatever reason, it ended up sending that twice to the JavaScript to actually do the display. So I'm not sure. Not sure what happened there. All right, Caretaker is going to join us on this one. So again, once the game actually starts, we just type in a number from 1 to 7 for that column. And again, the AI is going to be a little bit smarter on this one. In extreme mode, the AI is like really aggressive. It will, but in extreme mode, the board's also a little bigger. I made it 11 columns instead of 7. So we'll have a lot more room to play as well. All right. Cool. What's our strategy here? We're going to start in the middle again and kind of go from there. And Dung, you'll have to type only a single number. And again, you can change your mind at any point. So you can change your vote and you can say, oh, wait, I meant column 7 or whatever. So you can type it again and again. It doesn't stack up a count like it did in Battleship, where if you type the same coordinate over and over and over again, it would sort of skew in that direction. It doesn't do that in this game. Okay, so AI immediately stacked on top. So let's think of another column here, and then we'll see what we get. Now, there is a backup plan on this where if it can't connect to my AI for whatever reason, it uses a mathematical model instead to play the game. And that mathematical model is also pretty aggressive as far as trying to play the game. Like, it's watching very carefully for where there's a potential row of 7. And it's very, very good at playing the game for sure. All right, cool. I'm going to try and stack up on 3 and see if we can start a diagonal. See if we can trick it into getting a diagonal. Although if we go 3, it's going to stack on 3 as well and try to get its own diagonal. So I'm actually going to switch over to 5, I think, instead. What happens if nobody votes? It just misses the turn. That's a good question, actually. I don't know if I put logic in there if nobody voted. I think just nothing happens. I think it'll just repeat the round if nobody chose anything. All right, so it shows the corner. Let's stay away from 3 because I don't want it to get a diagonal. Let's start, I guess, building up on 6. See if we can trick it into stacking on 6 so we can start working on that diagonal maybe. Okay, you don't have to follow my lead on this. Oh, it took took another double turn. Okay, so we're gonna have to start watching out because it's gonna try a vertical stack. So it seems like on the 4th turn we're getting. I think we could probably go for a diagonal if we drop in 5 and 7. We'll just have to be careful if it detects either 5 or 7 and blocks us on that. If it blocks us on 7, that's okay though, because we can again work up that diagonal from 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I think we'll be okay. Okay, so we're in vote mode. So let's go 6. So it's going to stack on top to try to block us probably if it actually sees that state properly that there are 3 there. No, it actually let us win with that double turn. I'm not sure why the double turn thing is happening. It did clearly keep the state in there though, because it said that we won. What was weird is that it didn't do that on the first game when we had all 4 across the bottom. So, all right, so a little bug to fix. Cool. Let's hop into a resume review real quick for Dungspren. Let me pull that up in all of my browser windows here. Let me find it. And where'd it go? There it is. All right, now we want to go into this folder, display. All right, we'll go into this view here. All right, cool. So this is, yeah, that's fine. So this is Dungspren's resume. Let me close off that sidebar. There used to be a way to close the sidebar here. Weird, it won't let, oh, there it goes. Okay. All right, so let's have a look here. So the first thing, name, contact info, and links, that's fine. So the formatting on this looks a little off. The technical skills with the line over on the side here, I would probably fix that formatting a little bit. Oh, just looking at chat real quick. I think the game win checking only checks the last piece. So if it was a double turn, the game check may look at the last piece, but yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I'm wondering why it's taking that double turn in the first place. So we'll get to that. Cool. So resume review for Dungspren. Yeah, I would definitely fix the formatting on some of this. I usually tell people get rid of these horizontal lines. They're just very distracting. I would get rid of those completely. System engineer, company name with the location, that's all fine. As far as like formatting and stuff goes. So you've got a lot of empty space here at the top. You can actually push everything up a little bit higher on the page. You don't really need this big, like wide buffer anymore. That was really only necessary when people were printing resumes, and we're not really printing resumes anymore. So since you're sending a digital copy, you can decrease the margin here to about 1/4 of an inch, maybe like 1.5 centimeters if you're metric. I would do like 15 millimeters maybe, would probably be enough on the top here. Same on the sides. I would go down to like 1/2 inch, which again would be like 1.25 centimeters, so like 12.5 millimeters maybe. I would just do 15 millimeters all around. I think you'd be fine with those as margins. For the skills block, Python Fast API, JavaScript, TypeScript. JavaScript has a capital S, so make sure that you're capitalizing everything properly here. Get AWS code commit. Yep, continuous integration. I would probably name like which CI/CD if you've done more than just GitHub Actions. Like if you've done like Travis CI or Circle CI, I would name those as well. SQL with relational databases, that's fine. Docker containers. There's probably a whole lot more technology that you've used here. Like I'm also seeing some just even in your description on the resume that you don't list in the skills block. And I think that's something that could be improved. You want that skills block to be as sort of rich and heavy as possible so that people can see like all the different things that you know that are relevant to them primarily. But, you know, if you've got a lot of leftover room, which you do on this resume, I would definitely make use of that by filling out more information here as far as the different technologies that you've used. But yeah, get rid of these horizontal lines because it's throwing off your formatting. Same thing down here. Like you're kind of putting it with education, but now your heading is kind of getting buried in between everything. The other thing is you could make these headings a little bit bigger. So generally what I tell people is just highlight all the text on the page, make everything 10-point font. And then, the other thing is I record these so you can come back and watch the VOD or watch it on YouTube later on. So you don't have to worry quite so much about taking notes. But highlight all the text, make everything 10-point font, and then come back and highlight just your name, not your contact info, just your name, and make your name 18-point font. And then these headings, I would make these like 12 or 14-point font. So a little bit bigger than the rest of the text on the page. But that way, all of the rest of the text is very uniform as far as the size and the formatting and things like that. Just make everything else 10-point font. You've got 2 jobs on the first page, which is fine. You've got them all chronologically ordered. There is a 5-year gap, it looks like, between working at Deloitte and working at Elm Co. That looks like where you went to school, which is also okay. That's totally fine. So you got a master's in information production systems, thesis empathy, persona-based Arabic conversational agent. Okay. So one thing that sort of stands out here is you're including Japanese lettering on the resume, but not on everything. Like you're only putting a little bit of Japanese lettering on here. I would probably stay consistent in either, like if you're applying for jobs in Japan, put the whole thing in Japanese. If you're applying to, multinational companies, I would keep everything in English. But mixing language is going to confuse people because people who don't know Japanese, they're not going to know what this says, and they're probably going to put it through a translation thing. And if the translation is just the same thing that you said in English, then it becomes redundant. You don't need to put it on here twice. You have a Japanese resume, that is a strict format. Gotcha. Okay. In that case, I would take the Japanese off of this one. If this is going to be kind of your international resume to send out, I would take the Japanese off. Certifications, these are fine. Then they're in chronological order, which looks good. So yeah, again, keeping all of these fonts, like keep all of this text in 10-point font, make these headings like 12-point font. I think you'll be better there. Yeah, Streamer.bot, exactly. So those would be the first things that I would look at. But yeah, I would definitely fill up a lot more in here. The other thing is applicant tracking systems do okay with columns, but I have heard anecdotally from recruiters that some applicant tracking systems handle columns a little bit differently, where if it thinks it's a 50-50 split, it kind of gives like equal weight, as far as how important the 2 columns of text are, but it doesn't always sort of scrape the data properly. If one column is skinnier than the other, then it'll typically take the left one as being less important than the right one, because they're thinking that you're going to put like headings and like a real skinny education column or something down the left, and then the rest of the room, you're taking up most of the room on the right side of the page. I would just keep everything a single column format. That makes it easiest for people to read as well as the applicant tracking systems to read. And so I would just go horizontally across the page here. Generally, what I would recommend is under technical skills is have something like web development or full stack development, and then listing out like JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, etc., all the different languages that you use and know. And then under that, I would have like tools, and that would be like Git, AWS code commit, BigQuery. I would list SQL as part of the development languages. Under tools, I would put Docker on that line. CI/CD with GitHub Actions, I would put on that tool line. And then you could have another one for communication, and this is where you can say like spoken language fluency. So it looks like you've done English, Arabic, and Japanese. So if you know all 3, then I would list all 3 and just share proficiency of, are you natively fluent? Are you professionally fluent? Are you conversationally fluent? Whatever. And just put that next to each of those languages as part of that skills block as well. Your contact info, depending on where you're living and where you want to find work, will depend on, should you put the geography up here as part of your contact info. I'm seeing more and more with US recruiters that they're recommending that people say that they are a US citizen and putting that on their resume so they can see at a glance like, okay, this person doesn't need a visa. So that can be helpful for some people. Why is Coffee Stream.bot showing up in my chat? Weird. Okay. Apparently we're assigning points to bots now. Okay, so let's take a look at the bullet points improved. So what I'm hearing from one recruiter is that you want at least 2 keywords in the bullet point that are relatable to the job description. So if there's something in the job description, you need to have 2 of those keywords in every bullet point. I don't know that I necessarily agree on that, but what I do tell people is you need to talk about the impact that you had by doing that thing, not just what you did, but why that mattered. Achieving 30% average performance improvement is fine if you're going to apply at a company that is sort of engineering focused and their sort of core discipline is engineering proficiency. You might have heard me say on the stream, like if you're going to apply for a job at Amazon, Amazon cares about the customer. And so it's not about 30% performance improvement. You've improved the customer experience by 30%. And so you want to talk about it in the terms that matter to the company where you're applying. Would I keep skills at the top or put at the bottom? It's up to you. Me personally, I like it at the top because that's one of the first things I look for when I'm screening somebody is like, what skills do you claim to know? And then the rest of the resume tells me where you've practiced those things. I've heard other people say like, just put the skills in the text of your bullet points and then like have the outline of the skills down at the very bottom of the resume. It's kind of a personal choice. I think as long as you have a skills block, I think that's what matters, is that you have a skills block somewhere on the page. Because again, you might list things in your skills block that you don't list elsewhere on the page. Either way, you're still going to get hit, or you're going to hit those keywords that the applicant tracking system is looking for. So keep it in the resume somewhere, but it's up to you if you want it at the top or the bottom. If you're applying to a job where you know I'm the one looking at your resume, I hope it's at the top, but that's just my, what if I have skills and skills? Brian's skill is having a very entertaining stream and drinking fun little potion bottles filled with random liquids. And reading really amazing, creepy, borderline horror fairy tales on his stream. But also does tons of gaming as well. Actually, Brian, what's that cooking game that you've been playing a lot lately? Where you and like a bunch of other people, like you're cooperatively like working around a kitchen to like make food and fulfill orders. Overcooked 2. I need to try that one. That one looks kind of interesting. I'm usually not that good at those kinds of games, but that one looks kind of fun. Okay. So when you're talking about the impact statement, putting bold on here is okay. Like you're bringing a lot of attention to that, but you're putting bold on all of your bullet points. And I think that starts to feel a little bit heavy as far as putting it everywhere. It's a little bit like hot sauce. If you just pour hot sauce on everything that you cook, it kind of loses the effect. But if you put just a little bit of hot sauce and you hit that bite, it's like, wow, that makes a big, big difference. So what I would do here is I would probably not put bold on like all of these key technologies. These key technologies should be in your skills block. If these skills or if these technologies are relevant to the company, then highlighting them is okay. But like if they don't even use Claude Code, what if they use Codex or something like that? Yeah, it's a relevant skill, but this is more about like agentic process and working with AI, and that should kind of belong in your skills block. Just something to think about. I probably wouldn't put as much bold in here as you have. If it's something where you really want to draw their attention of like, hey, this is something that's really relevant based on what I know about your company and what I know about the job post, this bullet point is really relevant, then you can add a little bit of bold on there. But I would probably not put it on all, like I wouldn't have bold on every bullet point the way that you do. Or at least you do on page 1. You don't put any bold on the bullet points on page 2 until we get down into your projects. So I would probably remove the bold and only put bold on the actual impact that you had as opposed to the technologies that you used. Like I would put this whole phrase in bold, for example. So reducing the cost of human intervention to 0, that's the impact that you had. So I would put that whole thing in bold. And again, those might be the only 2 things I put in bold for all of these bullet points at that job. Do I prefer bold or italics? Bold would stand out more. Italics is more of a subliminal kind of thing. Like the conscious reader doesn't really pick up on italic from a distance. And so if, some of the first things I do when I look at a resume is I kind of zoom out to kind of look at the formatting, and we can still see the bold on here. But if you had something in italics, you wouldn't see it if it was zoomed out, or if I'm looking at it from a distance or whatever. I wouldn't really consciously notice italics. So I would use bold. So you're saying I can hypnotize people with italics? Maybe. have to try that one out at work, Brian, and report back and let us know. Design architect streamline various AWS databases. So this starts out strong and then starts to get a little bit weak as it kind of progresses here. So designing and architecting is good. Streamlining, what does that even mean? You have to keep non-technical people in mind when you're writing the resume. Hey, Darth Gollum, good to see you. There are going to be non-technical people reading your resume, and so you have to make sure that you're writing it in a way that they can quickly sort of understand what it was you did. By saying various databases, you completely lose me at that point. It's like, which ones? You're putting it into Google BigQuery. Okay, that's fine. So this sounds more like a migration from AWS to Google Cloud. I would just write that as your bullet point. Design and architect an AWS to GCP migration using step functions, Google, and so on. I would take out these kinds of filler words while leveraging or whatever. It's like, that's a business buzzword that nobody cares about. So I would say like designed and architected a migration plan from AWS to GCP using Google BigQuery, AWS step functions, Google Storage Transfer Service, and AWS S3. Like something along those lines. Just simplify it quite a lot. Migrated the underlying Gemini code base. So which? You say migrated the code base. Which code base? Is it the code base for the entire company, or was it like a specific project or something? This is where it starts to get a little cloudy as far as like, what impact did this really have? Enabling the introduction of features. So you've stopped your sentence here with a period, and enabling is with a capital E. So you've kind of stopped your thought and then you've started it back up again, even though this should all be one sentence. So I would correct the grammar on that. And then, get rid of like such as or various, because those are kind of soft filler words and they actually reduce the impact of what you're saying. Just be explicit, or just give them like a high level overview of what you did, but don't use like such as. Just say, this is the technology that I used. Would you start with the impact or end with it? I would vary it. I would have some start with an impact and some end with an impact, some in the middle. Like, it keeps them interested. It'll keep them reading. If they see that you're doing it a little bit differently every time, that way it doesn't feel very formulaic for them when they're reading the resume. It doesn't feel repetitive because you're following the same format over and over. Like, I did ABC resulting in XYZ. I did ABC resulting in XYZ. I did ABC resulting in... It gets boring after a while. So mix it up. Implemented a queue system using Google Cloud Tasks, which made the system more robust, showed more accurate status, raising clarity and customer experience. So this is a pretty good bullet point. I would reword it a little bit. Implemented a queue system using Google Cloud Tasks, making or improving system robustness by, showing more accurate status and customer experience. So you can shorten it a little bit and sort of improve the language on that at the same time. But this bullet point overall is quite good. Developed RESTful API connectors, Docker containers in Python. So are these two different things? Or Or is connectors the Docker container? This is where pluralization starts to sort of make it difficult for people to read who are not technologists. So developed RESTful APIs in Docker containers with Python Fast API deployed on Google Cloud Run. Again, if they need to know that it was like automated data processing, you know, if you really need the room, you can add that back in. But again, you're sort of removing the impact by having a lot of words. Accelerated UI design decisions by rapidly prototyping interfaces with Claude Code, reducing meeting cycles and enabling faster stakeholder alignment. Again, this is really buzzwordy. Like, you sound less like an engineer and more like middle management when you say things like this. And to me, that would almost make me think that AI wrote this bullet point and not a human being. Because a lot of what you've written above this point is, here's how I used a technology to solve a problem. But the way that this one is written is it's really relying a ton on like business buzzwords. And I would like it really starts to lose the impact of like who you are and like sort of the tone and what we call the voice of what you've written like elsewhere on the resume. This one stands out as being like, wait, what did I just read? Like, that doesn't sound like everything else I just read above it. Last point was written by AI. Yeah, write it in your own language. Write it in your own words. Don't let AI write your resume. 100% don't let AI do that. Because otherwise, yeah, other people reading this, like HR people reading this, are going to have the exact same reaction that I just had, that you saw live on stream, live reaction of like, ew, that smells, that stinks, don't do that. All right, developed simple Japanese full text search function leveraging MeCab. So I would just say with. Don't use like big words like leveraging, just say with MeCab. For morphological tokenization, POS-based stop word filtering, and lemon normalization. Again, people who don't know what this stuff means, they're going to read this and go, this is gibberish to non-technical people. So maybe describe in kind of everyday language. If you had to describe this to like a grandparent, what does this even mean? Like, why does that matter? Try to describe that as part of the impact, because just throwing technical words in here and technical jargon, some of the recruiters are going to look at that and go, you know, I see smart words here. It doesn't match my list of smart words that I'm supposed to be looking for. So this person's not a match. But if you can kind of describe at a higher level, like, what does this even mean? Then someone who's non-technical reading the resume will go, oh, okay, I get it. And then they can sort of mentally fit that into the model of what they're looking for in a resume as they're reading through it. Took charge, get rid of that. Just say led code review process for a team of 4 developers. Again, this sounds very AI generated. Overseeing Git pull requests. So this is kind of what a senior dev does anyway. So unless this job is looking for somebody who has this exact experience, this bullet point actually doesn't mean anything to a software company, because this is the expectation. This would be like putting a bullet point in here that says, I know how to write software. Like that's how non-impactful this bullet point is, because this is what everybody on the team should be doing. We should all be reviewing code. Yes, you led a team of developer, maybe that part aside. We all write software, we all do code reviews, we all adhere to best practices and so on. And so unless they are specifically looking for that in their job description, I would remove this bullet point completely. Prepared a Docker container. So up above, you implemented, you migrated, you designed, you architected, but here you prepared. That's a very weak sort of action verb. I would definitely use a stronger action verb here about like, you know, architected, constructed, something like you built a Docker container. Created a custom Python. Python needs to be capital P again. So one of the things that we look for in software developers is attention to detail. And when you don't capitalize something properly, A, it lets us know, okay, AI didn't write this bullet point, a human did, because AI would have capitalized it properly. But it also calls into question, like, are you going to have bugs in your code? So make sure that you're capitalizing things. And again, so I'm seeing other things here like Fast API and Django that should be up here in your skills block. You list Fast API, but you don't list Django, but you have used Django in the past. So it needs to be up here in your skills block. So created a custom Python script as a Django command to transform data. Again, this is kind of weak because it doesn't really tell me like why. Like not to sound critical, okay? But so what? Like why did this matter? What improved at the company because you did this? Where on other things like you talk about, we improved customer experience. We had human intervention to 0. Like that's why that mattered. But here you're just saying I did a thing. And of the, probably 15,000 resumes I've looked at over my career, most of them are just, I did a thing, I did a thing, I did a thing, I did a thing. And it's like, okay, if we need somebody to come do that thing here, okay. But we want to know why you did the thing. Why did that matter to your company? What did it change? What did it make better? Reprinter, good to see you. So I would strongly improve this or just drop it completely. But like, tell me what this was about. Like why, like what was this? What did it do? What did it fix? What did it improve on your team? Collaborated closely with in Japanese and Agile development following Scrum. Okay. So again, this is stuff that we do every day as software engineers. So unless they are specifically asking for this in the job description, I would take all this out. You can say cross-functional development in Japanese. So in a Japanese and Agile environment following Scrum. I would say how can we word this one a little bit better? I would say participated in team planning with stakeholders in Japanese using Agile Scrum. Brian's asking, what's the so what is something people hear a lot when we're teaching them to include result statements in report writing. Yeah. Tell me why that mattered. Like why did you even do that? If you can't tell me why you did it, like, okay, it lets me know that I can give you a piece of work and you're going to go do the work. But if you don't understand why you're doing that work, you're not going to put as much like energy into it and whatever, aside from getting a paycheck. But if you understand the vision behind it and why it mattered to customers or why it matters to your company, things like that, then it kind of loses the impact on the resume. All right, next job, utilized Angular, Spring Java, Hibernate to implement a dynamic extensible algorithm for transaction difference display. Yeah, again, explain this to grandma. What does that mean? Like, what was this for? Can you explain a little bit more about like what problem you were trying to solve? Transaction difference. So you're comparing two transactions and showing the difference. Was it like financial services or something like that? I would explain a little bit more in that. Developed Android app features. I would just get rid of features. You developed an application using Kotlin and Dagger for efficient functionality of what? Again, you're being really vague here and you're not really telling me like what the application was. Implemented offline login using Realm.io for an enhanced user experience. Okay. So that's an okay thing because you're telling me what you did, but why? So this second part of the sentence is actually really good. But again, usually a bullet point isn't going to have multiple sentences. A bullet point is usually just one sentence. So I would figure out a way to combine these together, like developed an Android app to implement offline login using Realm.io to increase user experience or to enhance user experience. And I would get rid of like efficient functionality because again, that's just, it's buzzword and doesn't mean anything to people. Applied full stack development. I would just say built a full stack application in I would specifically call out like JavaScript or TypeScript as well as Angular to streamline processes, again, to devise a dynamic reporting process. I would take most of this out. So you built a full stack application in TypeScript, Angular, Spring Java, or Java Spring, to build a dynamic reporting process and improve maintainability. That's all you need to say. I would even take flexibility off of here. So again, you don't need all the words because again, most of these words are sounding a little like business buzzwordy and kind of AI generated. And I would simplify it quite a bit. All right, looking at your education, all of your date formatting is really consistent. That's fine. This one's a little bit off though. You can see all of these ones line up on that margin, but this one has like a little bit of empty space here to the right. I would make sure that that gets pushed over to the margin. But yeah, these look fine. So Masters developed a dialogue agent and data set that uses empathy and persona in Arabic, created machine learning models using Hugging Face. Hugging Face, I think, is all one word. Specifically a BERT-to-BERT model. I would take out the word specifically and say created a BERT-to-BERT machine learning model using Hugging Face. Take the word specifically out of there. Deploy the chatbot for Telegram API on Heroku. Okay. So again, Heroku, put that in your skills. Like that's another hosting platform that you've used, even though it's been a couple of years, but Heroku's still around. So put that up in the skills block. And then again, by having all of the font the same color and the same size, I would get rid of the italics on here. You can put like the masters in bold. You can put, or the name of the school you can put in bold. See here, you've got your degree in bold, where the school is in italics. Here, the school is in bold. Or is it? No. Japanese language school and then Tokyo Japanese language. So I would actually list the name of the certificate or diploma or whatever it is that you got here, because it looks like you've listed the school name twice on here. You think Heroku's dead? I mean, it could be, but I don't know, is it? I thought they were still around. Yeah, they're still around. They're not as popular as they once were. They were the thing everybody wanted to move to when DigitalOcean started charging tons of money, but then Heroku started charging tons of money, and then people started going to like Vercel and other hosting providers. But you can still list it. It's fine. So yeah, I would figure out like what was the name of the degree or diploma or certificate or whatever that you got here, because it looks a little less uniform. And then get rid of the italics on these. Just don't use italics at all on the page. Because I guess the dates you have here are in italics. I would just get rid of all the italics. Personal projects. So having a personal project on your resume can be good if you're showing relevance. Like, let's say I'm hiring for a particular kind of role, and I need you to have a skill that you haven't used professionally at a job, but you've built it in a project. Then having that project on your resume is very applicable and very relevant. If this is not relevant to a particular company, it's up to you if you want to leave it on or remove it. It's probably less relevant to some companies because you do talk about like CI/CD and other things. Although this is the only place I've seen you mention Vue. So if this is the only place that you've used Vue and you're listing that as a skill, then yes, keep the project on here, because they're going to look at that skills block and go, oh, cool, we need somebody that knows Vue. Where have you used Vue? They're going to scan the page or search on the page to see where you've used it. And so having it in a project is fine. I would get rid of the extra empty space between the bullet points here, though. I would just tighten that up a little bit because the line spacing that you have between these seems less than what you have between these. It seems like there's more space in between these bullet points than these bullet points. Maybe not. No, maybe not. Okay, automated production deployment on pull requests using GitHub Actions and Firebase. Again, put Firebase and Vite in your skills. Employing continuous integration principles while deploying development skill. Yeah, that's fine. Streamline the process for 4,000 monthly visitors, reducing interaction time to 1 to 2 minutes. So this is where they're probably going to want to know, like, what was the processing time? Like, you reduced it to 1 to 2 minutes. That's still kind of a big range. Was it 5 minutes before? Was it 10 minutes before? Like, give me some context. Was it an hour and you brought it down to 1 minute? That's amazing. If you brought it down from 3 minutes to 2 minutes, okay, that's better, but, you know, give me some extra context there. Scoped, analyzed, compiled the requirements from the Japanese Ministry of Justice. Yep, that's fine. And then again, get rid of these long dashes in here, because again, that smells of AI. Just take those out. Just put a comma or something in there instead. It was 30 minutes, so yeah, that's a huge improvement. So tell me that. Reducing interaction time from 30 minutes to 1 minute. And give me the best scenario. Don't say 1 to 2 minutes. Just say 1 minute, because that was your best scenario. So you went from 30 minutes to 1 minute. And then, yeah, get rid of these horizontal lines. They're just distracting to read because they're not all the same length. And sometimes, like, there's a bunch of empty space, and sometimes there's no empty space. It looks like you've kind of kept them all the same length. But these ones up here are not the same length as the ones on page 2. So, yeah, we just get rid of those horizontal lines completely. All right, well, huge thank you to Dungspren for sharing the resume. I love doing resume reviews on stream. Hopefully that helped you out. And yeah, you can always come back and rewatch the VOD and stuff like that. This will be immediately available on YouTube, and it'll be available eventually with Twitch. So, would you put skills that you're not comfortable with, even though you've interacted, worked in a specific skill? I would only put things on the resume that you can answer technical questions of, because anything on your resume is fair game for me to ask you questions. And if you put something on your resume and you can't answer questions about it, it puts everything on your resume into a question of, do you even know anything on your resume? And some things you'll be able to answer questions better than others, but as soon as we catch you in something of, like, you know, I've done this, you know, I've worked in, you know, C#.net, and you're like, oh, cool, you know, tell me about the project that you did in C#.net, and you're like, oh, I did a tutorial. You know, I made a to-do list in C#. It's like, nah, it doesn't really count then. So only put things on there that you would be comfortable answering questions. Awesome. Well, let's do another Connect 4 game. Do y'all want to try the extreme mode and have a really strong challenge against AI? You left out React because I'm not comfortable answering questions. That's fine. That's okay too. Oh, we got ads coming up in 2 minutes, so we'll wait to start the game until ads are over, and then we'll do another Connect 4 game. So we'll do extreme mode this time. I'm not sure what's going on with the double turn though, so we'll have to see whether that helps us or hurts us in the next game. But the extreme game will actually have 11 columns instead of 7, so there's going to be a lot more room to actually play the game. And hello there. What's up, Bets? Good to see you. And there will be a much stronger challenge from AI to beat us at Connect 4. You doing good? All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We tried a few quick games of Connect 4. We did find a bug where sometimes when we pick a column, it like doubles our move. We're not sure why that one's happening. I'll fix it sometime before stream next Thursday. I won't be streaming on Sunday again because I'll be out of town doing another business trip, heading out to California, heading out to the opposite coast this time. I was in New York last week and heading out to California this week. Had a great time in New York. Got to hang out with RC Maniac. If anybody knows RC Maniac, we got to hang out in person for a little while, and that was a really fun time. We walked around kind of downtown New York around Rockefeller Plaza. I got to see where the Christmas tree thing is that they build. If anybody has watched the TV series Hawkeye from Marvel with Jeremy Renner, the scene toward the end where he's like up in the Christmas tree and stuck, and you know, the other Hawkeye is like fighting off the Russian, trust me bro guys. That was all filmed at Rockefeller Plaza. So it was fun to kind of walk around there. We went through a Lego store, and then the next day, I think I walked somewhere around 12 miles around downtown New York, from Wall Street all the way up to Times Square, Central Park, and then I walked through Hell's Kitchen to kind of see where Daredevil was from. Didn't see Daredevil, and Hell's Kitchen looks nothing like the TV show for Daredevil, but we'll see everybody after the ads. Dung says, another question, would you put meetup talks on the resume or keep them in the GitHub repo? I would. So again, if it's relevant to the job, actually, Dung, let me know if you're seeing ads. I don't know if Dung's friend has Twitch Turbo or not. Oh, you're not seeing ads. Okay, cool. So yeah, if you have Twitch Turbo, then I'll keep talking. So if the job post is looking for people that know public speaking, absolutely put that on because it's relevant. It's a relevant skill. You can put that under like communication or on the skills block where you have like programming, tools, communication. You could have community as well. And you could list like meetup talks and, Discord community, and just like literally just say like Discord communities. And just let them know that you're active in Discord communities or Slack communities or whatever. Again, if that's relevant to the job. If it's not relevant to the job, then I guess if you need to fill up the space on the page with something, then you could. If it was like a really impactful talk where like tons of people were there, like, if there were like 200 or 300 people at the meetup, then yeah, totally put that on there. But if it was like, yeah, it was a meetup and there were 10 people there and I gave a talk on a topic, unless that topic is really relevant to the company, I wouldn't even list it, honestly. That said, I do have a portfolio site where I put all of my talks, all of my conferences, my slide decks, all of my workshops, all of my, career help, all of like blogs that I write for companies. I put all of that on a portfolio site, and that's very prominent on my resume. I removed a freelance job to keep the resume to 2 pages. Again, I think if you go back and format to 10-point font, you would actually fit that freelance job on there. Because I think the way that you had formatted the resume, it looked like the font was a little bit larger than 10-point font. And I think if you go to 10-point font with single line spacing, instead of having all that extra room between the bullet points, you would fit a freelance job on there as well. No problem. All right, cool. Let's do another Connect 4 game, and then I got to go pack. I got to go finish laundry and pack. So let's do game Connect 4, and this one we're going to do extreme mode. So we will have 60 seconds to join the game, and then basically every turn you'll type in a number from, this time it'll be from 1 to 11, for which column you want us to drop a token in, and then it'll be kind of small. I'll bump up the font size on it, but you'll be able to see, if you have good enough eyes, how many votes each column has. And then you can change your vote until the timer runs out. You can change which column you want to drop a token into. And then if there's a tie, it'll ask us to break the tie. If there's not a tie, it'll just take whichever one has the most votes, and that's the one it'll drop the token into. So let's play. Oh, it didn't do the extreme. Oh, there it is. So yeah, let's go ahead and do join. Thank you for the hydrate. Appreciate that. All right. So we got me and Dungspren. If anybody else wants to play, just do !join. The only thing to be won here is some beta testing and some points. But the extreme mode, there are a lot more points to win than in other modes. But this is going to be a lot harder to play. The AI on this mode is actually really, really aggressive. It's going to try everything it can to like win the game. So we're going to have to be pretty smart about like how we stack things up and how we get things rolling here. So 10 seconds if anybody else wants to join. Looks like the timer is off from the display here. I think we still have 10 seconds to join. All right, that's it. We're shutting it off, and then let's pick a column. So So you can just type in any number from 1 to 11, and we'll start to see like little numbers pop up kind of above the column here. So just type in a number. We got about 15 seconds left. And again, if there's a tie, it'll ask us to break the tie. If there's not a tie, so there's 3 of us. So I'm gonna change my vote to what Bet said and go to column 8. So we'll drop it in column 8, and then we'll see what AI does. So again, AI is going to be really, really aggressive on this. And it's doing the double turn thing again. What the heck? All right, well, maybe we'll beat the AI because we're cheating. I don't know. All right. So what I'm thinking is we could probably stack up either side, like 7 and 9, and start working on some diagonals. Or maybe we'll luck out and it won't block the bottom and we get 3 in a row, and then we can pick the final column and automatically win there. I don't know. So I definitely need to make the font bigger for how many votes each column has been given. All right, so it's stacking up on top. So we can do 6 or 9 and we automatically win. Because as soon as we drop 1 in there, it can only block one side or the other. So we can either pick 6 or 9 and then we win the game. Extreme mode, you were supposed to be extreme. All right, so Bets went for 9. So there were more votes on 6, so it's going to drop over in 6. And then AI is probably going to drop in either 5 or 9 to block us. But whichever one it tries to block us in, we'll just drop it in the other one and we'll be good to go. Oh, it went in between. It didn't even try to block us. That's funny. All right, so Bets went with 9 last time, so let's go with 9, and we'll finish off our game. Oh, this was kind of anticlimactic. I was expecting like a really good challenge with AI on this one. It's the vote changing that's causing double. Oh, is it really? Oh, interesting. So if we all pick the same column, well, let's try a game where we all always pick the same column. But it didn't, see here, it didn't recognize that the game was over. So let's try 5. Let's all go into 5. And then maybe it'll recognize, oh no, shoot, we need to go to 8 and block it. Do we go to 8 and block it, or do we go to 5 and try to win? I'm going to stay with my 5, I think. Oh, you're going to try and block? Okay, we'll block. What's the AI going to do now? Oh, it went way over on the side. Interesting. Well, let's try either 5 or 10. Let's all go with 5. And then maybe that'll recognize that we have enough pieces and we'll win. So yeah, now I'm curious if we try a game, because it occurred to me that on the easy mode one, we all picked the same column and it still stacked 2 of the tokens in there. And that was the first time I think that we saw the double move happen. And I was like, wait, why did we get 2 tokens? But I mean, we can definitely test it out. So it still thinks that the game is going. That's really strange. I don't know. Where do you want to go? Like, where do we go from here? You want to try the diagonal and go like 7? It's going to stack up on 1 again, I think. You want to try 4? Okay, we'll try 4. It looks like it's going to try a vertical stack in column 1. So if it doesn't try to block us here, then we're definitely going to have to block it in column 1, because for some reason the game doesn't think that it's over. Yeah, see, we all picked column 4 and still put 2 tokens down there. All right, well, let's pick column 1. Oh, column 1. There we go. So we all pick 1. I'm curious whether it'll drop 1 or 2. Because Bets and I were the only ones that voted for column 4, and it still put 2 of them in there. On the next one, on the next game, let's all pick a different column. And when it asks us to break the tie, pick the same column, that we'd see that one only dropped 1. And it still thought it could try to win in that position. What do you want to try to do? You want to try and do a diagonal? What do you want to do here? You got 20 seconds. Where are you thinking of going? I'll match whatever y'all do. Column 9, okay. Yeah, maybe if it does the double turn, it'll see the vertical stack and think that we won. Like I said, when I was testing this, so I was testing it with multiple accounts, and I never saw this double thing happen. Okay, so it worked. So strange. All right, we'll have to figure that one out. I'm curious how it gets into the state where it thinks that it needs to do 2 turns. If it is something where somebody changes their mind or something, that would be one thing. Or if there was a tiebreaker or something, that would be one thing. Because it didn't always happen. It only happened some of the time. And it didn't seem to happen whether we had multiple columns or whether there was a tie. Like, I don't see a pattern in it yet. I wondered if it was like always the 4th move where it started. Because it didn't happen right away in the first easy game. And it didn't happen right away in the extreme game until like a couple of turns in. And then suddenly our token was dropping too. And in the previous game that we played, I think in normal mode, the AI also got 2 tokens. Where on this game, it looked like only we got double tokens. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have to debug that one a little bit. I'll go back and look at my logic on that. So cool, that was Connect 4. We've also got the Battleship game that we've done a couple times. I've made some changes to the Battleship game, so it's not quite as chaotic unless you play Extreme mode. Extreme mode will do the averaging of the coordinates, but in normal mode and easy mode, basically every platform that plays, they all send an airplane. So if I went over to YouTube and played on YouTube while you all play on Twitch, it would actually send 2 airplanes and we would finish the game twice as quickly. Or if I was also streaming on Kick or Trovo or whatever, basically every supported platform sends their own plane. And then, yeah, you would just end up finishing the game that much faster. So, but in the extreme mode, it takes everybody's vote and it still averages out the coordinate and tries to drop the bomb there. And extreme mode also has a lot of mines, and we tested the timeout method, and it actually mutes the person who gets timed out. If they, basically if everybody collaboratively hits a mine, half of the players that sent in a coordinate that round, they get muted. So they can't, you can type all you want in chat and it's just not going to pay attention to what you type. That was kind of fun. But the feedback that we got from a couple of people who helped us stress test the Battleship game was like doing that on all the game modes was kind of chaotic and didn't feel right. It would be okay for the extreme mode, but not for the easy or normal mode. So we fixed that basically. So on easy and normal mode now, it'll do kind of a vote count similar to what we saw in Connect 4. Where whichever coordinate gets the most votes, it'll drop there. And if there's multiple coordinates in a tie, it'll basically randomly pick one of those. And then in easy and normal mode, every platform, so YouTube sends an airplane, Twitch sends an airplane, and so on. You like Connect 4, maybe make the game time faster by dividing the time using the number of players. I thought about that, Dungspren. The problem, I don't think I would want to go lower than 30 seconds. Because of latency times. There were a lot of times where we were halfway through the timer before anybody else actually voted. Because there is like a 5 to 15 second lag from when it's leaving my computer and going to Twitch and then broadcasting to you. Even though I try to set that latency as low as possible, it still can happen. And so we end up having problems with, where people think that they're playing and they're not. And then they don't always get the same rewards as everybody else because they end up missing a round or whatever because of latency issues. So I decided I would keep it at 30 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, just to be fair to everybody. Yeah. Cool deal. All right. Well, that was the start of the new game. You know, we obviously found some bugs to work out, but that's the idea of it anyway. Let's go look at. I want to find somebody to raid just because I got to go finish laundry and pack and get everything ready for my trip tomorrow. So tonight was going to be a short stream. I will be back next Thursday. I will improve the Connect 4 game. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to make the game board a little bit bigger. Let me switch the view here. I'm going to make the game board a little bigger. I don't think I'll make it any more taller than it is, but I think I'll more prominently show the number of votes in a column as opposed to the tiny little circle under the column number. I think that was too hard to see. So we'll definitely improve that. So I'm just looking for... I've got somebody that I follow that I think we'll raid into, but I don't know if her stream has actually started or not. No, she's been streaming for 2 hours, but her stream isn't loading for me for some reason. Oh, there it is. Actually, is she doing... Oh, she's not doing software tonight. She's doing something else. All right, we will find someone else. Give me one moment. We're going to go find a raid target here. See if any of my community... No, I'm the only one in my stream community of live coders. I'm the only one streaming tonight. All right, so let's go find someone else to go find somebody else to raid into. Go Shadows, Errand. No, that's not the channel that I was looking for. And so many choices now to go raid into. Yeah, if you have suggestions, by all means. Otherwise, we'll probably just go hit Colleen and listen to some music to close off the night. Yeah, usually on Thursday, I want to stream into someone else doing like software game development. Unless we just go find a random person that we've never raided into. Let's go do that, I think. Small Block Boy. Yeah, Econ Dev is one that I was looking at actually. Who's Small Block Boy? Yeah, we'll go into Econ Dev because he was looking at other people's games and whatever. Obviously, he can't look at the Battleship or Connect 4 game, but yeah, I think we will go raid in over there. Cool. If you would help me out, pretty please. You know me and dad jokes. Let's go grab this raid message, if you would, pretty please. And we'll go raid over into that other channel, and we'll look at some other games and stuff going on. And we'll catch everybody next Thursday when I'm back. If I can try to get an early stream in next week, I will try to. But more than likely, it'll just be next Thursday when I stream again. And yeah, we'll play some more new and improved Connect 4. And we'll catch everybody later. And have a great night. Cheers.